ya mvula ili mkati. Nyengo ya mvula yayamba.
Glad you could join us for 7:30 News Bulletin. My name is Fales Chizombe. Stories making the headlines. Pope Leo XIV says holiness is for everyone, not a privilege for the few. Government vows tough action as cases of child sexual abuse rise. SEDET questions funding, transparency in multi-billionaire mining claim. And in other news, US President Donald Trump backs off Iran strike threat, agrees to 2-week ceasefire window. We have more stories coming up. Stay with us. Pope Leo XIV has emphasized that holiness is not reserved for a select few, but is a calling for every baptized Christian. Speaking during his weekly general audience at the Vatican, the Pope said holiness is a gift that calls believers to strive for the perfection of charity, living in full love for God and the neighbor. Continuing his catechist on the Second Vatican Council, the Pope reflected on Lumen Gentium, which highlights the universal vocation to holiness. He noted that the document dedicates an entire chapter to this teaching, insisting that all the faithful are called to live in God's grace by practicing virtues and imitating Christ. We have a Vatican News report read in our studios by Tandiwa Zumara.
The Pope explained that the highest form of holiness is martyrdom, describing it as the supreme witness of faith and charity. He said every believer must be ready to testify to Christ, even in the face of suffering, while also expressing this witness daily through acts of love and faith within society. Pope Leo XIV further stressed the importance of the sacraments, especially the Eucharist, as essential nourishment for a holy life. He said holiness is a gift from Christ that becomes visible when believers receive it with joy and respond with commitment. Quoting Pope Paul VI, the Holy Father added that the Church can only be authentic when its members strive to be holy and faithful. He also called for a serious change of life, acknowledging the reality of sin within the Church while encouraging continuous conversion. Pope Leo said holiness is not merely an ethical effort, but the very essence of Christian life, involving an inner transformation through the Holy Spirit that conforms each person more closely to Christ. Concluding his message, the Pope reflected on the evangelical counsels of poverty, chastity, and obedience, describing them as liberating gifts rather than restrictions. He assured the faithful that no human experience is beyond God's redemption, and that even suffering can become a path to holiness. He ended by entrusting all believers to the care of the Blessed Virgin Mary, asking her to guide and protect their spiritual journey.
The government, through the Ministry of Gender, Disability and Social Welfare, has reaffirmed its commitment to fully implement policies that promote accessibility and inclusion for persons with disabilities. Key among these efforts is ensuring that all modern infrastructure, including hospitals, schools, and office buildings, is designed and constructed in line with standards that allow persons with disabilities to access and use such facilities with ease. Minister of Gender, Disability and Social Welfare, Mary Navicha, made the remarks during a meeting with children with disabilities and street-connected children from the northern and central regions. The group, which included beneficiaries from St. John's Children Care, visited Parliament as part of an education tour. Alison Banda has filed this report.
Navicha emphasized that the government remains committed to addressing the challenges faced by vulnerable children. She noted that efforts are being intensified to ensure that children with disabilities and those living on the streets receive adequate care, protection, and support to help them grow into responsible and productive citizens. She further disclosed that the government has set a 3-year implementation period running up to 2029, within which all new buildings must comply with accessibility standards to better accommodate persons with disabilities. The minister also reiterated the government's commitment to eliminating discrimination and ensuring equal access to essential services such as education, healthcare, and assistive devices.
As you are aware, last year during our Disability Month, we talked much about access to buildings, access to public buildings, and we had an awareness campaign with building owners, including government, that each and every building should have access for persons with disabilities, whether it's a hospital, bank, government building, a market, each and every building. So we've given 3 years deadline, 29th April 2029. Each and every building must have access to persons with disabilities.
Meanwhile, Malawi Council for Disability Affairs Makoda spokesperson Harriet Kachimanga has welcomed the development, expressing optimism that the directive will significantly improve the lives of persons with disabilities. She said the Council is ready to work closely with the government to ensure successful implementation.
Ensure that we exercise the powers that Makoda has, as we also work with the ministry to ensure that all building owners comply and make public buildings accessible to everyone, including persons with disabilities.
The minister has since urged building owners to comply with the new accessibility regulations, warning that enforcement measures are already underway. She cautioned that within the next 3 years, buildings that fail to meet the required standards risk closure.
That was Adam Zamwanirupembe reading a report filed by Alison Banda. Moving on with the news, the Public Accounts Committee has decided to extend its investigation by 1 month to consult stakeholders who were initially left out of the Amaryllis Hotel inquiry. The committee is examining the 128.7 billion kwacha purchase of the Amaryllis Hotel by the Public Service Pension Trust Fund. On Tuesday, representatives from the government side stated that the committee would not be permitted to release its report until former Secretary to the President and Cabinet Colin Zamba, along with officials from Yusuf Investment, have been summoned. Speaking in Parliament on Wednesday, PAC Chairperson Steve Malondela acknowledged ongoing speculation surrounding the investigation, but said he had been advised not to comment further. He emphasized that the committee has acted within its mandate and conducted itself appropriately. Malondela added that the additional month should allow the committee to complete its work. He also retaliated his political stance. He explains.
Several members, including the former Secretary to President and Cabinet, you will recall that we subpoenaed her to appear before the committee, but out there people thought we were protecting Ms. Colin Zamba. But there's a document which I read in the committee. So having listened to different individuals, we thought it is the best time for us to reopen this and give people, those who feel like they want to communicate whatever they want to communicate. So we have reopened that one.
And for how long should we expect?
We expect this to be done within a month. Because when we were having the interaction or the inquiry, there were no any extra allowances given to honourable members because we used the sitting. So we're giving time to Parliament to organize itself, because the members cannot be drawn from their constituencies to here and do a voluntary work like we did using the inquiry. Because whatever we've done, members never accessed any money from Parliament or elsewhere.
Minister of Gender, Children, Disability and Social Welfare Mary Navicha has expressed deep concern over the alarming increase in cases of sex with children and child sexual abuse, pledging decisive measures to protect minors and bring perpetrators to justice. Speaking as she presented a ministerial statement in Parliament on Wednesday, Navicha described child sexual abuse as a crisis that threatens the safety, dignity and future of Malawi's children. Charity Chilanga has filed this report.
In her remarks, Navicha said most perpetrators are not strangers but family members, relatives, neighbors or trusted community figures, and that abuse often occurs in homes, schools and other familiar environments. She warned that leaving children unsupervised or entrusting them to strangers increases vulnerability to abuse and is considered a legal violation. The minister has urged citizens to report any suspected cases to Child Helpline 116, community victim support units, police victim support units, one-stop centers and district social welfare and gender offices.
It's very sad as a nation. These issues are affecting the development capital, and we are working tirelessly. We are working in collaboration with other ministries to ensuring that our children are protected in this country, because some children have been affected mentally due to sexual abuse and ended up by destroying themselves, maybe committing suicide. So we have to join hands as Malawians. Let's stop raping our children.
Among other things, Navicha cited recent cases to illustrate the severity of the problem. Another 16-year-old in Zomba reportedly abused by a community leader, resulting in pregnancy and a caused abortion. A 14-year-old girl in Mchinji allegedly assaulted by her teacher, and an 11-year-old in Luntha allegedly abused and impregnated by a 27-year-old cousin who is a policeman. Some other cases include a 15-year-old girl in Majinga allegedly abused by her brother-in-law, and a 15-year-old in Leta allegedly abused, impregnated and forced to abort by her head teacher.
The delay by government to release this year's minimum farm gate prices has sparked concern among agricultural stakeholders, with experts warning that farmers are already being exposed to low commodity prices. Both an agriculture expert and grain traders say the late announcement has created uncertainty in the market, though expectations remain high that the final prices will reflect the rising cost of production. Constance Kantemeni has filed this report.
According to agriculture expert Leonard Chimwaza, the delay goes against policy which requires the prices to be announced by the 1st of April, leaving farmers vulnerable during the peak marketing period. He says with high costs of fertilizer, seed and labor this season, government must ensure that the prices protect farmers and allow them to recover their investments.
We believe that the prices that are going to be released have taken into consideration the high cost of production across the value chains in the agriculture. On the part of the farmers, it is now high time that they should wait a little bit up until government releases the minimum farm gate prices, so that they shouldn't end up selling their food crops to unscrupulous traders at a low price. Because what it means is that if they sell commodities at a low price, they will not be able to have that will help them to reinvest in the 2026-2027 agricultural season. So they should wait a little bit up until the minimum farm gate prices are released by the Minister of Agriculture.
Meanwhile, President of the Grain Traders Association of Malawi, Grace Majigamhango, says traders expect government to adhere to prices agreed during stakeholder consultations. She says any deviation could disrupt the market, especially at a time when low prices are already being reported in various trading points.
We, as Grain Traders and Processors Association, had participated in contributing to what we feel prices should look like, and our expectation is that they will adhere to the prices that were agreed by the group.
Government, through Minister of Agriculture Rosa Fachimbidezi, has announced that it will, by the end of this week, release an official farm produce price schedule aimed at guiding crop trading, with ADMAC expected to begin buying to stabilize the market and curb price manipulation during this year's marketing season. For Luntha News, this is Constance Kamtemin.
You are still watching news on Luntha Television with me, Fales Jizombe. Another look at the headlines before we proceed. Pope Leo XIV says holiness is for everyone, not a privilege for the few. Government vows tough action as cases of child sexual abuse rise. SEDET questions funding, transparency in multi-billionaire mining claim. And in other news, US President Donald Trump backs off Iran strike threat, agrees to 2-week ceasefire window. Moving forward, the Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiative (SEDET) has asked Parliament's Legal Affairs Committee to summon former Attorney General Thabo Chakaka Nyirenda over funding concerns in the government's $309.6 million, which is about 536 trillion kwacha claim against Columbia Gem House. The case linked to alleged tax evasion by Inyala Mines Limited continues to attract scrutiny as SEDET questions how $4.5 million, which is about 7.8 billion kwacha, was secured to support the legal proceedings. In a letter to Legal Affairs Committee, Chairperson Gilbert Konyongwa SEDET Executive Director Sylvester Namiwa is also demanding a full account of the total funds raised and details of agreements made with financiers. Emmanuel Chocha has filed this report.
In a letter copied to the Minister of Justice, Charles Mhango, and Leader of the House, Jabi Mhango, SEDET has noted that Nyasa Mines reportedly operated at the mine between 2008 and 2017, during which it was expected to remit 51 million kwacha annually, but only paid 6,413,000 to the Malawi Revenue Authority. Executive Director Sylvester Namiwa has since asked the committee to summon Chakaka Nyirenda to explain how the claim was calculated, disclose the funding for the case, and provide details of payments made to the legal team. The watchdog has also called for an update on the case, stressing that the need for clarity amid ongoing forex exchange challenges affecting the country's economy.
Yes, secondly, tell the nation who made the calculations that arrived at the 309.6 billion US dollars. Secondly, Malawians should know that government hired a US-based lawyer. The Attorney General should explain to the nation how much he pocketed. At the same time, it is open secret that the Attorney General secured 4.5 million US dollars. He should declare the funders and their interest. At the same time, we should make disclosures on the total amount he secured for this case. And finally, if there were interest, then the Attorney General should also explain with a complete documentary evidence. But after all is said and done, the Malawians should know that this is a very interesting case that should not be allowed to die a natural death. We need to pursue this up until when we get what is rightfully ours.
CIRIC has since reminded authorities that transparency and accountability in public matters remain critical to maintain trust in government institutions. For Luntha News in Illinois, this is Emmanuel George.
Now in sports, GIBS Security Service Limited has reiterated its commitment towards the promotion of professional golf and support the golfers who often receive limited backing compared to amateurs. GIBS Security Managing Director Innocent Chikoko made the remarks during the handover ceremony of a 20 million kwacha check to Professional Golfers Association Chairperson Vincent Odilo at Lilongwe Golf Club on Wednesday. According to Chikoko, the company increased its sponsorship from 10 million kwacha after being satisfied with last year's tournament and to continue supporting professional golfers who represent Malawi in international competitions. We have more in this report filed by Gift Kalonga.
GIBS Security Service Limited Managing Director Innocent Chikoko said the company deliberately chose to support professional golfers because they often struggle to secure sponsorship compared to their amateur counterparts, yet they play a key role in representing Malawi at international tournaments. He said the decision to increase the support was also influenced by the successful organization of last year's tournament, which met the company's expectations and demonstrated the impact such sponsorship can have on the growth of professional golf. Chikoko added that as a 100% Malawian-owned company, GIBS Security views the sponsorship as a way of giving back to the community, noting that golf promotes values such as discipline, accountability, and non-violence, which align with the company's brand image.
The reason for us sponsoring the professional golfers, as I earlier on said when we are launching the first tournament, is because these professional golfers usually they don't get sponsorship. Most of the companies sponsor the amateur golfers. So as GIBS Security Services, we thought of sponsoring the professional golfers as they are the ones who present us at international tournaments. So in another way, this act like preparation when we are going for international tournaments. That's the reason why we opted to sponsor the professional golfers.
Professional Golfers Association Chairperson Retired General Vincent Odilo expressed gratitude for the 20 million kwacha sponsorship, saying the support will go a long way in motivating professional golfers to improve their performance throughout the season. He said the funds will be distributed across quarterly tournaments, with players competing for prizes in each event, a move expected to keep them active and competitive while raising the standards of the game.
First of all, I'd like to appreciate the sponsorship which Jeep Security has given us, of amounting to 20 million kwacha, to professional golf group, which we have received with a lot of gratitude. In fact, we are pleased with the sponsorship coming from Jeep Security. It will also motivate our players so that they can play even harder. In fact, this amount of money will be spread out throughout the whole year. We'll be playing quarterly golf tournaments.
Meanwhile, the Professional Golfers Association has urged other stakeholders to emulate Jeep's security by supporting the development of professional golf in Malawi. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Gift Kalonga.
And in international news, the United States and Iran has agreed to a 2-week ceasefire, reaching a deal less than 2 hours before President Donald Trump's deadline for Tehran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face the wiping out of the whole civilization. The announcement by Trump late on Tuesday represented an abrupt turnaround from his extraordinarily warning area and came after mediation efforts by Pakistan's military chief Field Marshal Asim Munir and its Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Trump said Iran has proposed a workable 10-point peace plan that could help end war. The US and Israel launched on February 28th. We have an Africa News report read by Patrick Pupa.
Iran's Supreme National Security Council said it has accepted a 2-week ceasefire in the war and that it would negotiate with the United States in Islamabad beginning Friday. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas said passage through the Strait of Hormuz would be allowed for the next 2 weeks under Iranian military management. It wasn't immediately clear whether that meant Iran would loosen its chokehold on the waterway crucial to global energy supplies. In a post on his social media site, Trump said that provided Iran agreed to the complete, immediate and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, he would suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. Since the war began on February 28, Trump has repeatedly backed off of deadlines just before they expire. In doing so again Tuesday, Trump said he would come to the decision based on conversation with Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Gen Asim Munir, Pakistan's powerful army chief. Sharif, in a post on X Hours area, urged Trump to extend deadline by 2 weeks to allow diplomacy to advance. He used the same post to ask Iran to open the strait for 2 weeks. The president said in his social media post that Iran has presented a workable basis on which to negotiate.
That item concludes our today's news bulletin. Before we go, another look at the headlines. Pope Leo XIV says holiness is for everyone, not a privilege for the few. Government vows tough action as cases of child sexual abuse rise. Seeded questions funding transparency in multi-billionaire mining claim. And in other news, US President Donald Trump backs off Iran strike threat, agrees to 2-week ceasefire window. On behalf of the entire newsroom, I've been Fales Chizombe. Thank you so much for keeping me company. Keep it Luntha TV and goodbye.
Luntha Television, bringing wisdom into your home.